back to the Infinite Soul. We are here to share with you guys the astrological forecast show for October 9th all the way to October 15th. But stay tuned, people, because we're going to be dropping into the solar eclipse in Libra. Well, yes, we will talk about the solar eclipse the day of for October 14th, but we need to drop in some nuggets and review this last week because I made this show last week and I kind of said about it being a little bit of an emotional week. We need to have a serious talk because we're treading in some very extreme waters. This isn't just a little hopscotch, little patty cake horoscope for you guys. This is an uncharted territory of something very intense that is becoming in our world. And the spiritual navigation, in my eyes, to the world out there, for those that are watching this video, could be a source of invaluable information. So I want to be able to share that, drop in. We're going through a daily horoscope, bringing up from me to you, October 9th, which is basically past. You'll be seeing this for October 10th, all the way to the week leading up to this weekend of October 15th. But first things first, we need to address, last week, we did a horoscope. You can go catch this on my YouTube, and it's launching. I'm getting back into the swing of this, having a weekly show that we can really talk about the astrology at hand. I'm working with OBS projects, and we're going to be able to look at the charts and really break things down that I see on a day-to-day basis. One thing to share for the folks back home, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been around to see if these transits have validity in our world or not, and I'm here to be a truth bringer. I'm a light worker in the ways that we're here to illuminate what is going on, and if you have your own skepticism with astrology, we're going to go for a ride on this channel. But before we have time to get into that, let's review last week, shall we? What we were talking about was the turning point of this October. We had left a full moon in Aries, which is left into this quarter square in Cancer that you've experienced this week. And we're going to be leading up chatting about what's going to be happening up into the solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse at 21 degrees Libra on October 14th, 2023. This is a very big deal about the chain of events that have happened in the world in the last week. And I want to address this not only in an intimate personal life part of you, how this connects to the collective and what you can experience and navigate within your life. By the way, you are not governed by the stars, but it is the guiding compass of God, and its silk is how we weave the potential of our lives into reality. If you didn't catch with me on that, you are the music maker with the astrology at hand. The needle's on the record. What show will you perform? What we need to talk about first and foremost, folks, is we are here in the Libra season. And what you need to understand is this is a field about relationships. More importantly, in the astrology world, we talk about what is called the North and South Node. These are where eclipses would happen. And when the sun and the moon meet in this place is where you're going to find a total solar eclipse and or partial eclipse. But we're talking about an Aztec like red blood moon looking situation, although it is going to happen at 11:30 p.m. So we want to just make sure if you guys can see that. Let's drop into things, shall we? Last week, I was sharing about this moon had entered Gemini. We have 5 planets retrograde. Venus is coming out of shadow. Pluto is leaving its shadow period. All these planets are frozen, and we have several planets in a fall or detriment position. And the number one thing I talked about was Mars was going over the South Node. Now, before I lose you, and before you get lost in whatever astrology jargon, my breakdown interpretations for those viewers back home, this is an enormous ego shedding, potentially going to ripple in your life on many different levels. The last hand on the clock is Pluto, and we'll talk about this, and I'll soon unfold this video, and we'll try to make this as concise as possible. But this is where it has reached its 15-year last run in the sign of Capricorn. It does have 2 more rounds left, but we are at that focal point for the Pluto return for America at 27 degrees, and its final lap is 29 degrees. And this is affecting the foundation of our lives, the structure of our world, the systematic traditions that every 250 years are about to get resmelt back into the furnace to be reborn again. And there are things that are changing and dying and dynamically transforming in this autumn equinox process. So last week, we had this moon come into Gemini, and it rattled things. I gotta be honest, last week, if you had to look at 0 being not fun and 10 at being supreme astrology, this was like a 1. This was not a high grade at all. If you had a wonderful week, God bless you. And there are superficial layers that when we get into the spiritual realm, and I see it on all you guys, okay? And listen, this is not a path that everyone's going to understand. If you're a Christian and I respect you, we're going to understand that God is even wider and larger than you can conceive of in the way that it animates through all of our various lives. And I need y'all to understand that this is a huge moment, though, about spirituality, about God, purpose, integrity, and who you are as a human being that you're mirroring into the world, because this is where our egos are being attacked. What am I talking about? In astrology, our sign Mars, the planet Mars is in the sign of Libra, and it came over the south node where there will be an ecliptic. This is a shedding off, a surgery, if you will, in the field of relationships and interactions that is really upon our ego and projecting that ego upon other people, be it our love romantic partners, our friends, our colleagues, countries at odds. But this is where that Mars ego is overinflated. It creates inflammation. It creates a pimple that the more you pick it, the worse it gets. And I'm sorry to say, that is the energy frequency that was amongst last week. That moon, when it was in Gemini through Monday to Wednesday, which you can go look at my previous video, that was a time where I would ask people, be still, relax. This is not, I'm an Aries moon. I love dynamically jumping in, transforming, making the change you want to see. This is a time of kind of just taking it, being peaceful, and not effing up your life, if you will. There's so much tumultuous emotional energy and charging that if you're not going through this in relationships at all, one, God bless you, but also, I don't believe you. There's an area of the interweaving layer of structures that in the Libra season, it's very easy to not pay attention, out of sight, out of mind, roll over. Oh, it's fine. It's not a big deal. This always happens. Assumptive, whatever stories that you would like to say with Neptune quincunxing the south node. To get into the astrology, for those that want a rundown, the sun is in Libra. The moon had gravitated through Gemini, Cancer. It is finishing in Leo today as you watch this video, soon to come into a dark moon in Virgo throughout a various part of this week and coming over Venus that is now newly entered Virgo. Mercury has left its shadow period with Virgo. We were so fixated and so tight buttholed on all the little details that we want to fix to make ourselves feel better, but it got washed out with that Neptune and Saturn in the opposite sign in Pisces. I need you to understand, you haven't figured out too much. Right now, if you feel you've had any big nuances of transforming your life, that Mercury in Virgo thinks that it had the picture so figured out, but it couldn't widen its view to understand that you were not in fields of your spiritual divine path. Trying to clean up something in a house that might have a hurricane of changes going on, you haven't seen to the broadness and transcendence of that Neptune's spiritual life is trying to bring and knock on your doors. Quite shocking, if not listening to what is shaking around you. And this is some pinnacle moments happening in the astrology. This is quite intense. We are coming down to a solar eclipse in Libra, and most people are not going to go where I want to go with you today. We are also going to be pulling a tarot card at the end and break into a lot of talks that we need to address personally. But this last week, if you survived last week, I commend you and applaud you, because the tumultuousness, the transformation, the dangling carrot on wanting to transform your life or change something over and doing idiotic, stupid, detrimental, dangerous, effing up potentially the beautiful flow of your life was at extreme highs. We also want to recognize in situations of our life that we need to maybe shake up things that might need to be spoken up to, but there's a level where there was Venus finishing its shadow period in Leo. Let me explain something, is that Venus went retrograde in the sign of Leo back in July. It is now not only gone fully retrograde, it's now come up to that point in Leo and has passed that point at 28 Leo this weekend, which initiated this situation with Palestine and Israel. We'll talk about that soon, but I want to look in your own personal life on what things could be enticing, the little things that look so beautiful, the images that we think are going to solve our lives and make it feel so much better in this Libran world, that everything looks so beautiful. It's going to solve and purposely fix my life. But guess what? Today in this week, right now, if you're watching this video on Tuesday, October 10th into the 11th, we're going to have that sun opposing this asteroid called Chiron. And for those that don't know, Chiron is an asteroid that is about the wounded healer. What I need people to understand is that Chiron doesn't feel necessarily great, bold, altogether. It's, going to picture day with a giant pimple. It is wanting to win the race and you tweaked your ankle. It is those things that don't seem perfect, but they're in perfection on a healer's journey. Forget what you see on social media, always trying to look good. Look at the things that are real and authentic in this world, because that's what you're going to get on this channel. That's what you're going to get from me. And people, guess what? It's not a popular opinion. Look, if you're my best friend or so, I will tell you when something isn't that great, because that's the real authenticity of what we need in this world. And stop this illusionary falsivity of how you would see social media, the Kardashians, whatever the hell the media would presume you to see is perfect. We're here about the true depths of nature because it is untouched. Your true authentic gifts and the true things that are happening in your life, they are pure. And let God be the owner of that one. So when we jump in today's horoscope, or we jump in today's talk, I want to address that last week is extremely intense. Right now, as we speak, like I say, it is October 10th, 2023. The moon is finishing here in Leo as we speak, where it is trine the North Node. So there was some great messages. There's some great joys that you can find in your life, and you got to light up the love. And guess what? It's not going to look perfect. It's not going to be a fairy tale Disneyland dream. There's going to be some very weird things that are around you in your environment. But guess what? Show up for them, because love is around. It requires your participation with the North Node and fire. It requires your participation with lighting it up with that moon in Leo to express your creative flow. But here's the things you need to understand, folks. Mars is finishing its round in Libra. It's at 28 degrees in Libra, and it just did a square with Pluto. The configurations of astrology blow me away, that Venus left its shadow period, Mars squares Pluto, and these are these really tumultuous, intense, electric moments of deep transformation that are being enticed in a way that you don't want to do something you regret. You don't want to rip out the plant you've been growing and F something up in your life. And it is a permanent action that can take place when Mars has a square with Pluto. It will be the last Mars in Libra squaring Pluto in Capricorn that we're going to experience in our lives, because Pluto is finishing up its chapter, and especially will only come in one more time from last year and just barely poke its head in 2025, I believe. In this talk, we need to understand that spirit and soul and purpose and other things beyond the veil of what you think in your little human brain are happening at a deeper level. Some people get little woo-woo out there and they talk 3D, they talk 4D, 5D, and then beyond. There's something happening on this moment when you have all the outer planets about kind of clicking at these last final degree chapters for over the last 14 years, 12 years, about 6 years with Uranus, I believe. Regardless of the math, I want people to comprehend this is a world scale that is testing humanity. It's testing your humanity and how you interweave into your life to realize your life has got so many other enhancements and beauty in it. Look at what's in your life right now, because guess what? you probably, if you're watching this video, have more resources around you to change your life than most of our ancestors ever did, regardless of race, whatever you want to think on. You are more blessed with more resources and more things and opportunities around you with Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of Taurus that are able to receive and recognize what is in our lives. The planets that are in Earth, Pluto in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus with Jupiter. Venus has just entered into Virgo as of 2 days ago, as of 1 day ago, and has hit the sign Regulus. Guess what? This isn't all about you either. North Node is in Aries. Look, we'll talk about this, and I know I'm jumping around. This isn't just about you. Hey, I don't need anybody. I can do this all by myself. It's the way I want it. And for my Aries out there, guess what? It ain't going to work that way. Promise you. It's not going to be a fun ride. South Node is in Libra trying to show us how to be ourselves into the field of what we choose, of the people that are around us in our lives, the connections that have been spiritually brought to us at this focal point. 5 planets are retrograde. It means that 5 planets, you are still receiving karma and energy. There are already things set in stone and dominoes falling in a placement that you have to just be present and show up for in this day and moment. And every moment on every moment is going to have its differences. Last week, Mercury, the planet of intellectual communication, data, and facts, was trying to solve the world's Rubik's Cube of our personal lives and the world to whatever extent. And in the sign of Virgo, though, it gets washed out by Neptune and Saturn and Pisces, that we need to go with the flow, that we need to let go and let God, that you don't have control and you think that you can clean and perfect and get your life so figured out. But guess what? There's issues that God has a bigger picture for you to pay attention to. And the shit's been stacking quite a little bit, if you will, that we haven't been able to even process what we've experienced in these last few weeks. This October is a rocker, okay? And we got to learn how to enjoy and embrace every dewdrop of life that we have and give it our all, especially with North Node and fire. But this is you learning that you hold the keys. You have the answers. You can find the path and the way to heal yourself and be the person in the version that you want to be without projecting on anybody else is your problem. My problem, our problem. Chiron is the wounded healer in the sign of Aries. Look, we think that it's someone else or it's something else. We're going to project all our crap on everybody right now. Guess what? We're the ones that need to take responsibility. We're the ones that need to face ourselves. This is in Aries, where things don't look the way they want them to look. And I've said this before, but Aries, especially Chiron in Aries, makes me think of Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Guess what? He put himself in that place. It's up to him to know that he holds the keys and the path to stop being so angry and so arrogant and so lost, and instead of just opening up and embracing the healing within of who are you and why are you here and what are you here to gift and give the world in your noble and spiritual divine truth. And I'm getting real with you guys right now. If you're watching this, this is not a moment to F around with playing around with superficial BS. This is a time that hits to the heart on what it is that we're here to do. What is the purpose of life and spirituality and contribution and service? I speak to you. Venus is on the royal star Regulus. That used to be the lion's heart at 29 Leo. Has moved, I believe in 2012, don't quote me on that exact date, into the sign of Virgo. The relationships, the life, money, joy. This moment, if you're here in this time period, this simulation, watching this video, that you were put here in this moment about service of the most purest and higher beloved good. And what does that represent for you? What is your identity that you would like to be in the way of stewardship to this world? I'm going to share with you right now, it's me being able to share the astrology, these ebb and flows of God that I've experienced in my day-to-day life, not just books, not just TikToks. Look, I've been around the block. This ain't my first rodeo. in the ways that I know that you connect with someone in such a deep, profound way, especially someone you've just met, maybe someone you met in 5 seconds. And for those that have yet to dive deep with, it is my greatest joy and thrill, and sometimes in my heart, the calling of the greatest service in one of a few ways for myself. Ask yourself in ways that I can be of service and contribution to other people. Because guess what? That's what this is going to be about with these planets and Earth. That's what it's going to be about. With Jupiter meeting with Uranus in Taurus. Something we're going to talk about, some world history lessons right now. Because it's profound and important. We're going to talk a little collective for a second. I promise these weekly horoscopes are going to be concise, but this one, we need to go a little bit deeper, my friends. Uranus is a planet that was discovered 5 years after the American Revolution, and it represents spinning. It is revolution. It's chaos. It's unpredictability. Just the thing that you thought was going to happen, the complete opposite thing happens. Things you thought were going to go wrong, go right. Things you thought were going to go for sure are changing. You need to know, you need to keep evolving because we're under sand that's completely changing. When Uranus comes into Taurus, the most stable sign for the most unstable planet, life is going to be shifting and changing and ebb and flowing. We saw the thing with crypto during the beginning of this transit. We're seeing the beginning, but guess what? This transit happened at a very important time. It was back in the 1930s during World War II. This is where resources change, world powers change. And we're all trying to connect in this Uranian electric way. But guess what? In Taurus, we all have different values. Even your best friend, your partner, you guys have different values. We're not always going to get exactly the way we want it. And guess what? We got to do our best. I like things spicy. You like things mild. I like my coffee hot. You like it cold. Whatever. Guess what? There's a way that Uranus is testing humanity. For us to see the humanity within, to see the compassion that we connect within. And I promise you right now, for whatever religion, spirituality, source of walk of God and light and source, I promise I'm coming with the purest that I can to tell you. It's testing the way that you can be in piety for the love of things that are around you, that acceptance, forgiveness. You don't need to accept everything in your life, but accepting people as they are. Because in this North Node in Aries, you can't go shooting on people when everyone is defining who they want to be and choosing who they want to be right now. And look, let's bring it back a little bit. But that Uranus and Taurus, that shook up World War II. Guess what? Also, Neptune's back in Pisces, where it was a trigger during Civil War. The Civil War for America. Think about this for a second. We're not going to be, this is not a time to project your BS on how you think anyone or life should be. And it's a very triggering, and very sensitive time. I have a lot of compassion for that. But guess what happened during the Civil War is that people had delusional illusions that we need to, and a Southern Democrat, this is not about a political thing. Go look up your history if you're familiar with political parties. The Southern Democrats were trying to remove themselves from the country and trying to approve slavery and make our African American brothers 3/5 of a person in a vote or whatever that is. The delusional process that Neptune can create, the little airy-fairy thing of projecting what you're feeling and stewing it into creating illusions that we need to confront in this time period. Our friend, the master weaver and suave, our Lord Pluto, that rules the underworld, that is the ultimate Grim Reaper, passer of God, to see the, what's the guy like? Ghost of Christmas Future or something like that. Pluto is finishing its transit retrograde in Capricorn, and when you wake up Wednesday morning, it will be forward. And so there is a ticking explosion of something about to transform in your life. There's a psychological process you've been diving down deep with for a while. as this is also the return for America. Think about what happened in 1776. Think about the world events. Think about Britain. Think about England. Think about how society and government and structures changed entirely. Well, this is a rebirthing process. This is just about as much of the potency of that time, if you know it or not. And those that will speak unto their astrology, this is the transformations. And Pluto, by the way, is the gatekeeper of life and death. And so we need to honor and appreciate the life we have, to know that we're showing up with integrity in the sign of Capricorn. If there's something that's very disingenuous and something that's been crony or not genuine, that foundation isn't real, it's not going to last. But guess what? It's at the end. You've been here on this road, believe it or not, since 2008, 2009. What you've been building or what you've been working on since 2008 to 2009 is reaching. It's coming. You're ready to start hitting. You're at the peak of this mountain, kind of getting to the tip point. And it's time to not back out, to not give up, surrender, drop things, throw in the towel. Because if you're hearing this, it's time to stay with it. It's time to hold down the line. It's time to realize if it's important to you and you want that cement to dry. These are some of the biggest times about proficient serotonin, achievement, and it's very simple, folks. Look, if you're triggered by situations that happen in life, astrology don't give a damn. Give a damn. It's not that astrology doesn't, but this is the functions of life in a way that it doesn't need to be man-made or behave that you don't get punished like a human. But you need to know simply, did you do the work? I'm going to tell you right now, if you've been smoking weed for 15 years sitting on the sofa, this is where you project all your bullshit potentially that you think you've blamed somebody else for your problems. No, this is your responsibility. This is your grit. This is the hard work. This is working overtime. This is understanding this is a hard difficulty and we're hitting the boss levels at some parts of this saga. And, you got to be ready for these boss levels because guess what? It's the real time that makes the game worth it, makes you show up. It's times that you make yourself and re-smelt yourself, which Pluto redoes. It re-pours the gold. It re-pours the metal, the steel. It is the smithing. And hit the iron while it is hot. It's very hot right now while Pluto is in station, not moving very much at all. It's a very slow planet in general. It's frozen in time, and it's about to transform into a series of chain reaction events. And you can see that in the world affairs already. But we want to call you back to looking back at your personal life and what you might be experiencing in these moments. Because this last week, leading into this week, leads me to my next quote is we're in a solar eclipse with the south node in Libra. Let me explain something, folks. For those that know a little bit about astrology, Aries is ruled by the god of war, ruled by Mars, super masculine and charging gateway energy. But guess what? It's more about battle on the war field, but it's actually Libra. Believe it or not, the peacemaker, the diplomat, Libra, that is easygoing, that actually is the debater, the sword fighter, the fighter, the domestic arguments that we have is ruled in this placement. And Mars has been there fueling unnecessary aggression, unnecessary ego projections on other people or things. And you might be, I'm not getting involved. It's like there's so much inflammation in the ways that our egos want to be seen in that right, perfect picture that Libra would want. And guess what? Chiron's there. That sun is opposing Chiron. This is a humbling experience, my friends. This is a humbling time. This is not truly, if I may, the most rock star astrology at all. But it could be the most rock star times of you playing a real show on transforming how you've even known how to interact with other people and defining who you want to be. It's time to really get it together on these ones, folks. There are things in active moments that what is life about? What are you about? What is it is coming down to a secular moment in space-time that guess what? You can't be just arting and farting around anymore. So if your life is not having a purpose and a moment to cut through things and make the world a better place, that is what Pluto is going to try to do for us coming into Aquarius. And Jupiter ain't going to come forward till New Year's Eve. So guess what? It's going to lead into this holiday season from this solar eclipse that is transforming the world that we see it to be. Right now, I would kind of say you need to wait it out. And the life can be harsh. Venus has entered its fall position in Virgo. Look, if you got Venus in Virgo, there's a lot of beautiful things I can say about it, and the beauty of showing up and taking care and having routine and being just a beautiful well-being to other people. But I'm not going to lie, in transit, Venus in Virgo is considered fall position. And we're in a Libra season whose ruler is Venus in a fall position. And the South Node is in Libra, ruling Venus. So guess what? You're not going to get a nice pretty thing that's going to make you feel better. And it's all going to poof go away because you got with this person or you did this thing for money or the easy fix thing right now. Look, I'm not trying to get all crazy on you like the devil is coming at you, but I need you to understand this is where you can be seduced by Venus-oriented things and think that you are going to go in there in two different mentalities because Venus just left Leo and came into Virgo and we think we're going to figure it all out. Guess what? The best action might be no action. The best action might be showing up and doing the work, not getting lazy, not sitting there and eating bonbons and doing jack all. But I don't think you need to break your neck with this and try to figure out your whole life because this Venus is opposing Saturn. This is kind of not the funnest transits, to be honest, at all. It's a malefic opposing one of the lower benefics that's in a very weak. The princess is in a very weak spot and is saying, yeah, look, I know, Cinderella, that you want to clean the floors and get everything in your life together or whatever, man or woman, if you relate this in any other way, that you want to fix your relationships, cultivate the relationships, do all this stuff. And yes, those things will happen, but guess what? They're going to happen on a much more karmic, let go and let God planative. And we got to kind of get through this. Moving into that period where we are moving from Venus opposing Saturn, which is happening right now on October 10th, is we got to confront that some things are going to get fixed on their own. I can tell you right now that the moment Venus entered Virgo, I have two very close people in my life. One, my best friend, my girlfriend, both got a major injury and were pretty much debilitated. And look, there's nothing you could really do on that. Like, yeah, we need to take care of ourselves and take our medicine, eat our fruits and veggies, work out, and seriously, do these things with Venus and Virgo. And opposing Saturn, you gotta let go and let God. You gotta wait. You gotta be patient. And right now, my biggest word of advice from last week and right now for this solar eclipse is stay with whatever is in your life that you know is good and beautiful. If it's truly a pain, and truly, I'm not going to be the one to help you define what that is. But guess what? Do not royally jack up your life right now from all the ego projections that are stewing in front of us right now in our lives. Because guess what? We're still in a 5-planet retrograde process. We've gone through every planet go retrograde this year. You're still receiving things. The theme still has yet to change. But with this solar eclipse, this is a dumping ground. Mars squaring Pluto this last weekend from Saturday to Sunday. This was not an ordinary weekend, folks. And we'll close on this review on this. This is not scrapping things that you don't want to look back on and know that, oops, I probably really shouldn't have said that to that person. Probably really shouldn't have had an emotional, crazy, lunatic, psychotic fit that really I woke up in realizing with Pluto, like, that was wrong to do. Look, let's speak upon this for one moment right now. regardless of where you stand with the Israel and Palestinian conflict, the worst thing that you should be promoting is the terrorism and violence and despicable inhumanity that would be happening on any plane. That is not something you should ever advocate or think is justifiable. And there are people, things that I can't believe I've witnessed that are real, that people are justifying in this Libra energy that we deserve this. And you're being blinded by Neptune right now, that you might get the fog, the rage goggles off, or whatever it is that's giving you this fix, that thinking your ego is being justified in the image you want it to be, creating peace. It's like destroying a relationship, wanting another relationship, but like actually not being good at relationships, trying to make peace by blowing somebody up, but like playing just as bad. There's no winning. And I want you, like, regardless of how you feel about those situations, look at your own life right now. Those are not situations right now that I think are going to nurture the parts of your life. But guess what? You probably have something really beautiful going on right now. There's probably lots of different things that are going on that you can be grateful for. And that's what Jupiter and Uranus Taurus energy is about. Hey, look. If you have air conditioning, be grateful. Take a moment to pray about that. I'm not kidding. If you have fresh water, you have friends that love you. Look, I got this microphone, this camera, I got my phone, I got like I can deliver this message. I'm blessed. I'm in joy. And this is the feeling we gotta illuminate and remember and appreciate right now, because it is more critical now than ever. This is not a joke. This is, sometimes you'll see a horoscope like, this is important, this is important. This is down to a solar eclipse with some massive transformations going on right now. This is an explosion of changes in awareness, at least in your psyche or in the environment, or things way out of your control, that we're going into a powerful roller coaster in these areas. Because now Pluto wants to go to the end of the tip of the mountain from here on out. And Pluto rules the sense of achievement, your purpose. If you have low serotonin levels, you're not using this Pluto in Capricorn. If you're not winning some games or doing some push-ups or doing things that make you feel good, whatever that serotonin release is, it's basic stuff. We gotta recognize that we're not seeing the full picture right now. There's so much more going on that, if I may, you gotta pull much wider out. And I know it sounds as woo-woo again, but to reiterate, the 4th and 5th D, whatever that is, and beyond, that God knows in ways that we got to come back to, who are you? What are you here to do? What is your service? What are the parts of you that you identify with? And accept that. Accept where you're at right now. And I said that in the last video. Let's drop into it. Let's push forward with this horoscope, shall we? Moon is here October 10th. Let's move on to October 11th. The moon is going to enter Virgo. It's going to be coming over Venus, that is newly in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is considered fall. It's being opposed by Saturn, which is finishing its retrograde, and Pluto has come forward in the sign of Capricorn at 27 degrees, completing the final degree for the Pluto return for America. This is massive change. Not to top it off, that makes Wednesday more crazy for October 11th, is Mars is at 29 Libra. Mars at the end of a sign, 29 anything, is an edgy degree, an edgy moment. And especially with the South Node, this illusion on how you feel you're going to feel your identity and your ego. You can lose your shit and do your ego much more harm than good if you're acting from an irrational, violent, or vindictive, justified place. Let people dig their own graves if they need to. It's not for you to get involved. Be yourself. be Aries of who you are. You don't need to get wrapped up in other people's stuff. Mercury is at that part in Libra, and the sun will be opposing Chiron. Wednesday, October 11th, folks, is just a big spiritual, crazy, deep day. And it is the dark moon in Virgo leading up to a solar eclipse. I'm not kidding. October 11th, Wednesday, is quite the day, but humbling ourselves is the number one thing I'm going to say. Piety and work and showing up and being pure. Seriously, right now, purity. When there's a purpose or there's something like, especially in relationships, especially with people around you, is opening your heart and being pure in these places, because you're being tallied with that Pluto in Capricorn. Look, like some people don't want to believe in God or being paid in this life for something, or knowing that you've done good or deeds. That Pluto is going to tally some stuff in Capricorn, okay? Especially if you're showing up as the person that you want to be. Let's move to October 12th. It's a much more intense week. Again, Mars has entered Scorpio. It's good news, but a lot of things to say. Mars entering Scorpio is going to be a chain reaction of events. Mars has now come home with the North Node dispositor in Aries, giving this Mars in Scorpio a lot of drive, a lot of action, a lot of gusto and vigor, and sexual harmonic, transformative, manifesting energy. The problem that we want to stay away from is getting too black and white on situations when you have Mars in Scorpio, literally down to this finishing, still a dark moon in Virgo on this solar eclipse. Venus would come off that opposition with Saturn. Again, that moon is going to enter Libra on Friday, October 13th, very early in the day. It's going to have a lot of needs about wanting things to look good, looking for peace, creating the element of peace. And there's an illusion with this Mercury that is going to be quincunxing Jupiter, needing to look at bigger things, looking at making sure it gets the bigger picture of things. And look, some things, some pictures, this moment is wonderful in itself, but do not rip yourself apart if you're not where you feel you should be. It's this acceptance and knowing where our egos need to be humbled in this period in time. And this is just so important to bring up for people that come into the solar eclipse, is finding the peace and the beauty that's in your life and knowing that things are not close to perfect at all. One thing to note, in that Friday, Mars at 0 Scorpio, going to be trining Saturn at 0 Pisces. The malefics, but together in water, this is an intuitive flow. This is using that rapids. This is using the intuition and the visions and that moment to look through the glass and get a lot of work done. I'll give you a full approval there. If you know that you're in the right light and you know where you're going in this place and you feel that there's a purpose, highly supported. And that leads us up to Saturday, October 14th. That solar eclipse will be happening late in the day, by the way. But this is in the sign of Libra, where the moon will come over Mercury. It's going to be going on with a Yod and opposing that Chiron. There is a lot to heal. There is a lot of awareness and transformations that are happening. I need to say this to the crowd back home. Being an astrologer for as long as I have, and didn't intend to do it, but waking up, came from these experiences in these solar eclipses. I really want someone to slow down and listen. Listen to what's going on in your life. Take a moment to really process who are you and where you're at and where this solar eclipse is happening in your life, okay? I hope to make a solar eclipse video for all 12 sign zodiacs. We'll pick a card because this is going to be affecting us not only for several months, but this is a total solar eclipse, activating these nodes and charting us into this new saga by recognizing what needs to be healed and coming into fruition of who we really desire to be, and how to accept where we're at, because the answers and the path are in front of us, and that is something to remember at this time. Again, you're going to have a solar eclipse at 21 Libra on October 14th, 11:30 a.m. It's pretty much going to be in the morning. Can you believe that? On your Saturday before noon, especially coming through Washington, Albuquerque, New Mexico, through San Antonio, Texas, I think even Kerrville has got the 100% best spot, is an Aztec-looking total solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. This is making sure you don't fall victim to the illusions and how you're showing up in relationships, and also thinking that your relationships are affecting you and who you are. You're the one that chooses to identify with you and how we connect to the world around us. Much to share more, my friends. And then leads us up to Sunday, where I would say that moon is going to come over Mars in Scorpio. And that is a very intense energy because the sun will be in fall, the moon will be in fall, Venus will be in fall. All the planets are retrograde. The only thing good is going is Mars, and it will still be in a slight trine coming off to Saturn. Pluto is now forward, leading us down to 4 retrogrades. Chiron's still retrograde. There's an intense go, but we need to make sure we're aligned properly with the relationships and the things in our life, because if not, that moon on Mars during a solar eclipse has got a lot of firepower, a lot of gusto, a lot of verve. And we want to make sure we're using it for the proper reasons and be wise, because this solar eclipse is a shedding period. It is a cleansing period. My advice is to wait for the right moments. Don't jump the gun to get a quick fix. The Venus stuff will not work at this time. It's through action, work, service, and your purpose is something that's going to come really strong throughout this week. And I advise you to take notes and listen, because this could be a very transformative week, folks. And with that, bless you. Appreciate everyone for checking in this channel. What we're going to do is pull a little card for this week, and we'll bring in a wrap. I want to really appreciate people that have checked on my channel and seen all this. It's like, it's been way too long since we've done this kind of weekly horoscope, and soon to have the screen up, I want to be able to show you guys really, really stuff I've fallen in love with. It shows me a gateway to watching God in action. And when you see it commencing in a life, there are things we're going to have to shed for ourselves. What is the card for today? We got the 2 of Pentacles. This is a lot of juggling in our lives, a lot of turbulence, a lot of feeling like we're balancing a million things at once and not knowing how it's all going to come together. It's going to look a little topsy-turvy, and I definitely see this Venus in Virgo that's wanting to get it all figured out, and it's got to trust and let go and let God, because things are going to be really haywire and all over the place this week. Let's see another confirmation card. Ooh, the Justice. Talk about the most Libra card ever. Let me tell you something about the Justice card. It's both the greatest and even scariest card that you can find in the deck, because guess what? Justice will be served. I would be on your best behavior this week and doing your best to keep up with the world you have is really going to be bringing the justice into your life. When the justice is there and you're showing up and you're doing the work and you're doing your best and you're praying and letting God know that's coming back to you, This is a beautiful thing about Libra, because Saturn is exalted in Libra, and it makes sure that we get what we deserve sometimes. In fairness, these are some of those laws of the universe. I'm going to pick one more card just because I feel called to look at it. Wow. We got the Temperance card. I would say the Temperance card is my most favorite card. Let the angels do its work. You don't need to fight to figure everything out. You don't need to break your neck thinking everything's going to happen, but show up and do the work. Justice will be served. And you don't need to rush, because the angels are at work doing very majestic things if we let them do the job. 1,000 blessings. I want to share a deep prayer to all ancestors of alike, to the Holy Land, to all our major religions, to all those that walk with God, to find peace and alignment, to rest easy, to rest in peace. I pray on thee to find a space to call home, to all family to hold dear, and appreciate the blessings of this life, that everyone should have a grace opportunity, and that all can see that all are doing their part to be in benevolence with life and God, and that we do not need to project beliefs on anyone, that we simply can just open ourselves up to the moment and know that there is a lot of spirit, a lot of magic to go around for all of us. Much love. Thank you guys. With that, ciao.